Welcome to the podcast that's dedicated to helping business owners to prepare for exit so you can then be in a position to maximize your valuation and then go on to exit on your terms. This is the Exit Insights podcast presented by Succession Plus. I'm Darryl Bates-Brownsword, and as usual, I'm joined by my colleague, Kevin Harrington. How are you today, Kevin?
I'm very well. I keep saying that even though I've got a good old dose of seasonal lurgy. Shame I can't be with you so I can share it.
Yeah, wonderful. Kevin, hey, we've got a really good topic that we want to talk about today, and I'm a bit excited by this one. It's tapping into that entrepreneurial mindset, those things that the optimism that entrepreneurs are known for and they're natural at, how that optimism can actually be a problem when you're preparing for exit. So let's dig into that and just go, what do we mean by that? Are you an entrepreneur? Is that a handicap for exit planning? Let's dig in, shall we?
Yes, this is a great subject, isn't it? And entrepreneurs have some great attributes, and sometimes those attributes there can be an excess of them, making themselves obvious. And the real problem with business exit planning is that from our point of view, if we're talking to people, is that the problem we can solve for people, they've not experienced it yet. So they don't know of the pain. And nearly every entrepreneur deals with a problem or a foreseen problem that they can understand. And business exits typically isn't a thing that they see as being an issue down the road. Hey, why should it be? They've been in business 10, 15, 30 years or whatever, and they can deal with anything. They've proven that.
Exactly. Let's start right at the beginning. I don't want to start off criticizing entrepreneurs. We work with them every day and they're fantastic. And these are the people that see something different in the marketplace. They're busy being told by people saying, hey, you can't do this, you can't solve that problem, it's unsolvable. And they're the ones that say, stand back, hold my beer, watch me do it. And so they've got this drive, this energy, this passion, this don't tell me I can't do it because there's a solution there. They've got this energy and optimism that will get them to start the business in the first place. They'll create clients, they'll create a viable business. They'll push through. These are the ones that push through the first year, the 5 years, the 10 years, and they're still going strong and they've built a business. These are the people we're talking about, aren't they? These people are driven, passionate, and build a successful business.
Yes.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah, okay. So you're right. The optimism is what gets these businesses going in many cases. People see a business, and I was only telling you the other day, Darryl, wasn't I, about a meet and greet service at Heathrow where a man had given up his bar exam studies to start a meet and greet service at Heathrow.
As in bar to become a barrister as opposed to a barman.
Yes, just for clarity, for international clarity. And when I met him, he actually was there when I came back into the UK. And he spotted an opportunity in the market and he's off and running. And that's the bias towards optimism that people can have. But at the same time, overly optimistic entrepreneurs often end up launching ventures without sufficient research or preparation. And that can result in high failure rates. And there was a study by the University of Bath about 5-6 years ago that talked about pessimism being something that entrepreneurs should try and focus on occasionally, because the over-optimistic approach leads to failure to a significant level. And this study showed that optimists earn 30% less on average than realists because they enter unviable ventures in some cases.
You've just reminded me, I'm going to get all a bit academic for a second. I think there was some research work done by Viktor Frankl, who was the famous guy who did some research out of the Nazi camps. And his research on the American soldiers who were either optimistic, pessimistic, or more neutral, the optimists didn't fare as well as we probably think they were. So I think you're just kind of reinforcing research that has actually been done and out there, but it's not intuitive, perhaps. You might think that the optimist is always seeing the best and moving forward, but there are some downsides to being an optimist all the time. So where do we take it? We've got these business owners who are optimists, they're driven, they're high energy, they're seeing solutions where everyone else is seeing problems, and that enable them to do some research and start a business and get it going. They've either created a new product or a new solution to a problem that exists and created a new solution that hasn't been in existence before, or they've got an existing solution and taken it through a market access that hasn't been tapped into before. So we've got these businesses that exist. Now, what are we saying here? Well, they've been building their business for 10, 20, maybe 30 years. They've taken it a long way. They've developed a really successful business. But what are the characteristics of these people? They're forever solving problems. They're looking forward. They're coming up with a stack of ideas every day. They tend not to see solutions. They tend to be highly confident, and they're pushing forwards. And it's their confidence and sheer self-belief that has created a whole lot of the success for them. Do you reckon that's a fair assessment?
Yeah, absolutely. An entrepreneur solves problems. You're exactly right. And the thing is, they solve the problem when they recognize the problem. And so they look for a solution. And quite often over the life of an owner started business that still runs 20, 30 years later, is they do forget how many times they did seek help from peers or outside agencies or consultants or whatever, because it got to a pain point. Perhaps they're experts in production and marketing, but no good at logistics. And so perhaps they got in a logistics expert to help square things up so they could carry on growing. And that's good because the business is trading, that they know they can fund that sort of activity and they know they can get to the end of it. But the reason they asked for the help is they had the pain. And this is the issue with business exits, in that there's an unrealized need for it. They're not yet feeling the pain of an unplanned exit. And there's also that kind of emotional attachment, fear of change, lack of awareness of the complexities involved. What's the valuation, succession planning, all those things. And it can lead to procrastination. And that, in our experience, and also research shows us that it leads to procrastination that results in rushed decisions and reduced business value.
So let's tap into some of this unfelt pain, shall we say, that we're referring to here. Because what we're saying is, at some point, these people have realized, these business owners are going, hey, look, I want to sell my business. I've come to the point, the realization that I do actually want to sell my business. And they often have a valuation in mind that they want to achieve, whether it be because it's just a goal number they want to achieve, or whether it's because it's a number that they feel they need to achieve to continue living in the lifestyle that they want to live in post-work and not have to work again, so a freedom number. It could be just because their mate sold their business and achieved a certain valuation, and they're aware of a multiplier, and they believe that their business, would therefore create this valuation. So they've got all these beliefs and expectations around exit. They've never done it before, and it's most of them are only going to sell one business in their life. So what they're coming up against is they've got to make this mindset shift that their business is now the product that they need to sell. So they've spent all these years building the proposition for their product and how to address the strategic market, how to package their product, how to price their product, how to market their product, and formulate all these strategies together into a proposition to make it attractive to their desired client. And what they've never done before is think about their businesses in this way and go, what do I need to do to make my business attractive to my ideal client, the ideal client being the person or company that's going to buy their business? How do I make my business an attractive proposition to be acquired? And if they've never done that before, they're not aware of what's required to make their business an attractive proposition to be acquired by someone. And I was talking to someone recently, and we were started, as is always the case, we come up with the analogy of going, well, it's like selling your house, isn't it? They said to me, if I bought a rental property and I put a coat of paint on it, I might renovate the bathroom and the kitchen and make it more attractive. And I've gone, yeah, but you can't relocate the house. That's the problem with the house. You can't relocate it. If you're preparing your business to be sold, there's so many more levers that you need to pull to make it attractive to be acquired, because there's a lot more moving parts. And these are the things that, if you've never sold your business before, there's just so many things you just don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, you're dead right. Is the start point partly around there's an assumption it must be simple? And I'm not saying it is complicated getting your business exit ready at all, but it's more complex than selling a car or a house. And the lack of reference points that a business owner has when they're selling their house is quite a problem. They're starting in the dark if they've not done it before. In the UK, if you want to sell a car, you'd look on Auto Trader or the Parker's Guide, and you'd get a really good idea what your car's worth, plus or minus 5%, really. If you wanted to sell a house in the UK, most of the time you can get a pretty good reference point by going on to Rightmove. You can't get that for a business. And so you alluded to the multiply that a friend got for selling their business. They end up being very singular and inaccurate reference points because businesses are so different, and the speed you want to sell it, and the legacy you might want to leave, how you want to look after your staff, and all those things make it a new kind of pot of stew that is very different to the thing they thought they were dealing with. And it's, our experience is that if people choose to spend some time looking at these things in more detail, even if it's only just getting a really, really good valuation up front, if that's all people did, they would end up getting a better deal out at the end of it, because they'd start to see all those moving parts and see what impact it has on the valuation.
And that's a really, really good point there, Kevin, because getting a valuation from someone who's not attached to the valuation, because you can get a valuation by someone who's, got can look up in a textbook and go, here's how to value a business. You can get a valuation from someone who wants to sell the business for you. So they're probably prone to pitch high and seduce you with a number that's a really attractive number and to give you the number that they think you want to hear. Or you can get a valuation from someone who's trying to look at it from how a buyer's looking at your business and having a look at all of the risks. Instead of just going, hey, look, businesses in your industry sell for this multiple, they go, let's have a look at your business. Let's have a look at the profitability, because it's a profit times a multiplier. But what's the profit? We hear the term EBITDA, but where does EBITDA come from? That's not in your regular monthly reporting. So what is the EBITDA number they use? And then what are they multiplying it by? And what are the things that influence that multiplier? And these are things that what we're doing is talking about the valuation now. But we also need to factor in the terms of the deal. Are they going to say, yeah, we'll give you that multiplier and that valuation? Sure, no problem. But to get that number, we'll give you a little bit of the money up front, and we don't really think it's worth that number today. So we need you to stay around and work in the business and work through an earn-out for the next 2 or 3 years, and we'll pay you the rest of that money over installments over the next 2 or 3 years as you hit those targets. Oh, and by the way, we now own the business, so we own the goalposts. We can move them to wherever we like because we've got other business priorities as well. Your goals are not our number one priority. If you don't do the preparation don't do the preparation while you still own the business, you're going to have a whole lot of risk exposure after you own the business post-execution.
Yeah.
And these are the things we want to mitigate as much as possible.
So I think one of the important things in business is the ability to make a decision. It's to be able to go yes or no in the right way. And the trouble is, if you go binary on things and you don't have all the information, your risk of making a wrong decision, going no or yes to something, is quite high. So I think this is where the entrepreneur, if they delve back into what's made them great and remember that curiosity was one of those things that really worked for them. They thought, aha, there's an idea. They thought, there's a market, I've got a product that could put into it, or vice versa. And being curious and ask some questions rather than going, no, I don't need any help, or I'll leave that for 3 years. Why not spend a little bit of time every month, perhaps, going, let me educate myself about how I can exit my business. What does it involve? What's the breadth of the challenge? Who are the players that are going to be at the table? Who are the experts I need? And what's the buyer going to bring to the table? And thinking about how you can make the deal worth more to the buyer and worth more to you. And the curiosity that entrepreneurs are famed for can be a refocus. And I know it's hard when people are going, do you know what, I'm ready to be out of here, going, well, no, you need to learn a bit. But entrepreneurs need to remember that's how they got where they were, because they were curious. Reignite that hunger for knowledge and find out what it's all about. That could be by talking to us, could be talking to all sorts of people. But make sure you get some unbiased views on what those parts are.
I think you touched on something really, really insightful there, Kevin. And if you do some exit planning and you start thinking about your business well in advance, you can start to think about what type of business owner person, who is going to be the buyer for your business. And if you're, part of it's going to be based on the size of your business, part of it's going to be based on your time frame, and part of it is going to be built on the intangible assets that you've already built and implemented as a part of your business. If you know who's going to buy your business, then you can set it up to be more attractive to that person or that entity or that type of entity. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, it's a lot of it's going to be having the right reports and the right structure and the right systems and processes that complement what they're looking for. It's about having the right management team and leadership team that are going to stay and those that are going to want to go. Because if, depending on who acquires your business, they may go, well, we've got a full leadership team, we don't need that. Or it might be we actually want your leadership team because they can go on and do other things in our much bigger entity or organization. So part of exit planning is thinking about who's going to buy your business. Now, different buyers are going to come with different valuations and valuation formulas of how they're going to value your business. So then you need to go, what are the things I need to do to make it more attractive to them? And regular listeners of the podcast will have heard us say before that to get into this mindset, you need to evolve your mindset from profit growth to valuation growth. What are the things that grow the valuation and therefore attractiveness of my business? And all these things that increase the valuation will actually prepare your business to be more attractive to get deals, to create more competition for your business, and also set you up for a faster deal process. If you put all of these things in place and have an attractive business that's prepared for exit, your deal will go through so much quicker because due diligence will be less painful because you've prepared it in advance. And they're the sort of things we're talking about. What sort of due diligence will you need to prepare for? What information will the buyer be looking for to give them comfort that the business meets their needs and is what they think it is or what it reports itself to be?
Yes, and it can be a very fun process. Helps you get back in touch with your customers, gets you thinking about your supply chains, get you thinking about your team and your processes. And we've said this before on the podcast, haven't we, that some people, a minority, I do have to say, but a minority of people end up going, I was thinking of exiting because it was all getting too much for me. And I was thinking, can I get enough to retire and all that stuff? And through the process of getting things running better and having better relationships with everyone in their business ecosystem, they go, do you know what? This is what I used to enjoy. A business running well, it's earning me more money. It might be more saleable now, but do you know what? I'm going to carry on doing this for a while. And we have seen businesses double, triple, quadruple their valuations through this process. So it's a win-win whichever direction you go. If you've got your business running smoothly, ready for a business exit, you have got choices. If you wait until the last moment and get involved with a broker, you've got very little choice apart from paying them the fee and quite often having to reduce the sale price on the way.
Yeah. You don't have time to adapt and make changes if you leave it too late. So here's a top tip. As an entrepreneur, you've been building your business and building your proposition. So you're going, what's my product? What's this problem I solve for my clients? How do I position my proposition, the problem I solve, different to the competitors in the marketplace? What's special about me and my product so that clients will want to buy it and gives them the information to make a choice? How do I price and package it to match that positioning in the market? And then how do I reach those ideal clients, the people who have the problem that I want to solve? They're the 4 key elements that make up your proposition for clients. Now, here's the top tip. Use those 4 tips and go, if I'm thinking of my business as the product now, how do I make an investor proposition or an owner proposition? How do I position my business different to everyone else's that they may be considering? What's the problem I solve for them as a business acquirer? What problem does my business solve for them? How do I price and package my business? Now, that'll be partly down to negotiation, but That's the negotiation of the terms, and the packaging is who stays, who goes, over what time frame, and what is actually acquired, all those bits and issues. And then how, if you're building it from a proposition perspective and thinking in terms of valuation, well, then you just go, how do I reach them? Where are the right type of buyers or acquirers or investors that are looking for this combination? Now, if you're thinking about propositions for clients and then propositions for shareholders and owners or investors, then you might also want to think about propositions for employees. If you build a proposition and think about those 4 strategic elements for employees, chances are, well, we know they will, you'll end up with a much stronger culture and a much higher employee retention rate that's aligned to your vision, which just so happens to make your business more valuable. And if you're going to do a proposition for employees, then you probably also want to do a proposition for your suppliers. How do you get the right suppliers for your business? Because employees and suppliers are 2 things that are going to come under scrutiny in your due diligence. When people are looking to buy your business, they want to understand how aligned the employees are to your business. What is your employee turnover rate, your churn? How capable are they? How skilled? How much do they follow systems? How vulnerable are you to, or how much exposure do you have to your suppliers? Are they just transactional, or are they strong relationships that will stay and don't need any additional renegotiation? So there's some tips for you to think about, how do I build the valuation of my business? Kevin, have you ever done that with clients and seen some bonuses?
Absolutely. Before I get to that though, I've seen the complete reverse, where someone I know very well said, no, we can't be doing all that, Kevin. I go, look, we're friends. I don't want to have this conversation. And he went off to a broker, and the broker charged them a load of money. And they said months later, why are you still not even categorizing our business correctly on your website? That's not what we are on, and you put it in the wrong place. So how's it ever going to sell? And they said, well, if you want it to sell quicker, you need to put the price down and pay us some more money to advertise it. That's what happens if it gets down to the real end game. But you were talking about the positive things there about bringing it together by, in essence, saying, let's get this right for a great buyer, and getting the team in the business, be it 10, be it 100, be it 1,000 people, getting them to naturally, without really thinking about it, to be in line with the culture and strategy on a day-to-day basis, making decisions without having to refer and making the right decisions, dramatically increases the efficiency and effectiveness of a business. At the same time, I've done sessions where I've been growing and evolving a business where we've got every supplier in, every one of them, and explained what we were doing and said to them, if you want to be part of that, this is what we want from you. It's up to you. You can walk away from us if you want. This isn't an invitation to a tender. It's an invitation to come on our journey with us. This is what we'll do for you. What can you alter or tweak or change for us? Now you understand our business better. And so these are the sorts of things we talk to our clients about on our kind of 5-stage process of getting exit ready. And it makes a business easier to run and more valuable. So why would you not do it? This is what I always find so intriguing. And it takes with a tipping point in the conversation where people say, yeah, I get it. It differs for everyone. But as I said earlier, the point is entrepreneurs got successful through curiosity. Get curious when you start thinking about exiting your business, and you'll start wondering about all these things we've been talking about, and perhaps it's a conversation we should have.
Get curious about finding out. So I just got all this wrong. But you want to know what you don't know. That's what you're saying, isn't it?
And, and we do cups of coffee, and we do Teams calls, we do face-to-face conversations. They're great things, and you don't need to be a client to have the initial conversation and go, okay, that's for me. That's good. I want to carry on my curiosity and do this, or get into that danger area where you say, well, I'm not leaving for 3 years. I don't need to do anything.
It's so important what you're saying, because the risk is if you don't get this right, you're not going to sell your business. Only 1 in 5 get to sell your business, and we're so passionate about changing that number. Like, how many business owners get to the point where they're anticipating to do a deal, and it's just not attractive enough for buyers? They just see it as too risky, and they run away. We want to change that. We want to help you change that. We want to point you at least in the right direction. So if you want to find out, as Kevin says, hit us up for a cup of coffee, hit us up for a Zoom call, Teams call. There's no risk. Let's get you on the path to exit on your terms. Kevin, another good one. Thanks for sharing your exit insights with us today.
Thanks, Darryl. Talk soon.
Cheers.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Exit Insights podcast. If you haven't already, now's a good time to subscribe and get notified of all future episodes. Now, if you're planning to exit and sell your business one day, you want to be sure that it's exit ready when you're ready to exit and with the numbers that work for you. Now, this is going to need some planning. Now, the Business Sellability Scorecard is a good place to start. Just answer a few short questions about your goals and your aspirations for your business and your succession, and you'll get a report and a score for you, your business, and your numbers. As many of our guests have already said, don't wait until it's too late. Don't wait until you're ready to sell. Start your exit planning now to make sure that you're one of the 20% of business owners who successfully exit their business.